The film starts in 1962, with France in turmoil. Algeria gains independence under President Charles de Gaulle, angering many French citizens. Many, particularly military extremists and radicals, form the OAS, or Organisation Armée Secrète, led by Jean-Marie Bastien Thiry. They plot to assassinate de Gaulle and set up along his route to the airport. As the motorcade passes, they open fire with automatic weapons on the presidential car. Several bullets strike the vehicle, but no one inside, including de Gaulle, is harmed. 6 months later, Bastien Thiry and his accomplices are captured. The next morning, Thiry's lawyer requests a stay of execution, but it's denied, and Thiry is executed by firing squad. Colonel Marc Rodin, Supervisor Cassin, and Financier Montclair, hiding in a remote Austrian chalet, realize they can't act because they're under constant surveillance. The OAS is infiltrated by informants who monitor every member, and detailed records on every member are kept. Rodin decides they need an external person unknown in France. 3 months later, Rodin finds the perfect candidate, an Englishman with a spotless criminal record. He invites him to Vienna for an interview with the OAS leadership. The Englishman, codenamed Jackal, is sharp, mysterious, and ruthless. He understands the need for an outsider to kill de Gaulle. Given past failed attempts and OAS's network of informants, he accepts the mission but demands $500,000. Because anyone involved in such an act would be permanently barred from employment, he demands complete secrecy and anonymity, insisting that only the 4 of them are aware of the mission. Rodin's bodyguard and assistant, Victor Wolinski, observes his departure to meet the OAS leaders. The Jackal begins his preparations by extensively researching his target, acquiring 2 fake passports, traveling to Paris to find an appropriate shooting location, and contacting 2 individuals in Belgium. The first person is an armorer hired to craft a custom gun, and the second is a forger who will create specific French documents for him. Later, the Jackal secures an OAS contact named Valmy, who will provide updates regarding the president. Meanwhile, the OAS dispatches Denise, a female spy, to seduce a high-ranking French official for confidential government information. 2 weeks later, the Jackal returns to collect his items from the armorer and forger. Satisfied with the armorer's rifle and a successful test shoot, he faces a blackmail attempt from the forger over the documents and kills him by breaking his neck. With all preparations complete, he travels to France under the alias Paul Oliver Duggan. To fund the Jackal's operation, OAS leaders instruct their network to rob banks in Paris through various methods, such as late-night burglaries and daytime armored vehicle heists. French intelligence notices this surge in criminal activity, and although many robbers are caught, they turn out to be low-level thugs aware only that they're acting on behalf of the OAS. When the Action Service discovers that Rodin and his associates have unexpectedly relocated to the Hotel Garibaldi in Rome, owned by an OAS supporter, their suspicions grow. Local surveillance teams report that Rodin and his associates are completely secure. They occupy the entire top floor of the hotel, while their 8 bodyguards stay 1 floor below, highlighting their fear of being kidnapped. Wolinski is their only link to the outside world, making twice-daily trips to the post office to handle correspondence. After 5 weeks, the Action Service decides to capture Wolinski for questioning. They snatch him as he walks to the post office, then roughly put him into a truck and transport him to an airstrip, where he is flown to Paris in a small propeller plane. Under severe interrogation and torture, Wolinski only reveals that a blonde assassin, known as Jackal, visited his superiors. This information convinces the head of the Action Service that the OAS is employing a hitman to assassinate de Gaulle. The French Interior Minister seeks a private meeting with de Gaulle but is refused. De Gaulle, being a proud man, insists on not hiding or being overly protected. Consequently, the Interior Minister assembles a clandestine committee to address the threat posed by the Jackal, including high-ranking figures such as Police Commissioner Berthier and Colonel St. Clair. Berthier points out that since the Jackal is unknown even to his employers, locating him is a significant challenge. Hence, identifying the Jackal is crucial to stopping him. He suggests his own deputy commissioner, Claude Lebel, the top investigator in France and the ideal person for the job of tracking down the Jackal. Lebel, a kind but relentless police officer, is summoned by the council. He is given access to every possible resource but must keep matters confidential, which he does. Lebel enlists his assistant, Karen, and together they start contacting police agency leaders around the world. Meanwhile, St. Clair goes home and tells his mistress, Denise, everything that has happened. She then sneaks away and calls Valmy in London. There, investigations are led by Inspector Thomas, who has received direct authorization from the Prime Minister to conduct a thorough investigation into the Jackal, ensure he is not English, and stop him. The British police come up with two leads, which they share with Lebel. First, there was a suspicious individual named Charles Calthrop, who was in the Dominican Republic when its dictator, Rafael Trujillo, was assassinated. Jackal translates to Jackal in French, but the first three letters of Calthrop are missing. Second, possibly more worrying, a check of all passport applications shows that one was submitted for a Paul Oliver Duggan, who died at the age of 2. Meanwhile, the Jackal learns from Valmy that his mission has been compromised, but decides to proceed anyway. He arrives in Grasse and spends the night charming and seducing a fellow guest, Baroness Colette de Montpellier. The hotel records are collected and examined the next morning, according to French procedures, but more swiftly than usual. When Duggan's identity is revealed, Lebel promptly dispatches soldiers to the hotel and goes there himself. They find no sign of the Jackal, who has already left, which Lebel finds odd. However, they notice that the Baroness's bed appears to have been used by two people. During an interview, the Baroness denies knowing the person. The Jackal's quick exit is interrupted when he crashes his car. He decides to go to the Baroness's estate, where she welcomes him. That evening, she tells him the police are looking for him, but promises not to say anything if he explains his mission. In response, he strangles her, assumes the identity of a bespectacled Danish preacher named Per Lundquist, whose passport he had taken at Heathrow Airport, and quietly escapes. Using the Baroness's car, he drives to Toul Station and catches a train to Paris. Servants discover the Baroness's body hours later. Lebel reports on his failure to capture the Jackal and the death of Madame de Montpellier, noting that the Jackal wouldn't have escaped without prior information and now has the identity of a Danish preacher. By tracing the car to the station and interviewing station staff, Lebel deduces that the Jackal's disguise helps him drop his covert actions and start a public manhunt. A police team is sent to capture the Jackal at the Paris station, but they arrive too late. Lebel orders police to search all hotels in Paris, but the Jackal evades capture by visiting a Turkish bathhouse, where he is picked up by a Frenchman. Lebel uses a phone tap to discover that Denise is the OAS agent providing information to the Jackal. He shares a recording of her phone call with the council, causing St. Clair to run away and later take 2 mini-sleeping pills. After a warning about the Jackal, he secretly listens to all the council members' phone calls. He then realizes that the Jackal plans to strike in 2 days, on August 25, 1963, the day France was freed from Nazi Germany. De Gaulle, a World War II soldier, insists on appearing in public that day, despite the danger. The council breaks up, promising to catch the Jackal before then. Meanwhile, the Jackal murders a Frenchman upon hearing about Per Lundquist's arrest for killing someone. On Liberation Day, the tired minister tells Lebel they still haven't found the Jackal. All they can do is tighten security. Nothing happens during the day. Later, a gendarme mistakenly lets the Jackal, disguised as an old French war veteran missing a leg, into his house after checking his papers. The Jackal abandons his disguise, takes apart his crutch to assemble a rifle, and waits as the president prepares to honor former French resistance members. Meanwhile, Lebel roams the area, looking for anything out of the ordinary. He finds nothing suspicious until he meets a gendarme around the time of the medal ceremony. Lebel learns that a man with a crutch was let through by the police, notices an open window on the top floor of a nearby building, and rushes towards it, instructing the officer to accompany him. The Jackal takes aim and fires, but misses because de Gaulle suddenly bows to kiss a resistance fighter on the cheek, a common French gesture. As the Jackal reloads for another shot, Lebel and the gendarme storm in. The Jackal shoots the gendarme, but Lebel grabs the officer's submachine gun and fires, killing the Jackal. Back in London, Charles Calthrop arrives at his apartment. British authorities question him, but determine he wasn't involved with the Jackal. They close the case, distancing themselves from any responsibility for the Jackal, since he used multiple identities including English, Danish, and French. Superintendent Thomas reflects on the true identity of the Jackal. In Paris, a funeral is held. Lebel is the only person present as the Jackal is buried in an unmarked grave. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.